morning from London, England. The Greater London area is home to 9 million people and split into 33 local administrative districts. Those districts are broken down into 32 boroughs and one city within a city. That city is confusingly enough called the City of London. The City of London is a square mile and was founded about 1900 years ago. It was founded by the Romans when they ruled here in a country they called Britannia, and the only difference really was that they called the city Londinium, not London. The Romans built Londinium just north of the River Thames because it was a brilliant location to have a port. It was just far enough inland to put off would-be invaders, and it was in a place in the River Thames where the water was deep enough to support large ships for international trade. These days, the City of London is known for being the financial and business hub of the UK. It has buildings such as the Bank of England, the Lloyd's of London Insurance Building and the London Stock Exchange. I'm going to be spending the day in the city, but before I get there I wanted to take a look at a very famous castle that is just outside the boundaries of the city itself, and that is one of the most famous castles in the country. Right behind me there, the Tower of London. It's about £25 to £30 to get in for an adult. Thankfully, I've picked up a voucher so I can get in for free, so I'm going to have a quick walk around before I head into the city itself.
Those gates through there, they are the original gates, and they date back over 700 years. And it was by those exact gates through there that King Henry VIII so lovingly greeted his second wife, Queen Anne Boleyn, the mother of Queen Elizabeth I. Now poor Anne, she was fated to return to come back to the Tower some 3 years later for a very different reason and through a very different set of gates.
So I'm now inside the inner wall of a fortress built in 1066. I believe these are the homes of the Beefeaters, otherwise known as the King's Guards or the Yeoman Guards. Tower Bridge close by. And then this large stone building in the centre of the fortress here is called the White Tower, built by William the Conqueror in the 1070s. That is the building that houses the crown jewels, about £4 to £6 billion worth of jewels and regalia, all kinds of treasures in there, but the queue is about 45 minutes to get in, so I'll give that a miss, I think. Left the Tower of London and I'm in Trinity Square Gardens. This is where all of the executions, or vast majority of the executions, took place. I believe it used to be called Tower Hill. I've made my way into Monument Street. You can see at the end there is a 202 feet tall monument dedicated to the Great Fire of London way back in 16 66. As I make my way a little closer, I'm going to arrive at the intersection with Pudding Lane, which is the road basically that runs across me here. And it was a bakery on Pudding Lane where the Great Fire started, the King's Bakery, if I remember rightly. So that's Pudding Lane up there. This is Pudding Lane down here. Of course it's all brand new now because the original building's burnt down entirely. And there's the monument again. Of course, back in the 1600s, most buildings were built from wood and timber. So once they caught fire, it was very hard to extinguish them. There was no such thing as a fire brigade back then, I don't think. The buildings were actually put together in a way that tried to avoid a spread of fire, but the wind was so strong during the 4 days of the fire itself that the flames just simply jumped between the buildings. Well, believe it or not, I'm now inside the monument itself. It was a monument that was completed in 1677, designed by Sir Christopher Wren, and has 311 steps to the top. Next stop is St Paul's Cathedral. Just down, and they give you a certificate upon leaving to certify that you have climbed the 311 steps right to the top of this massive monument. Definitely worthwhile. Now you don't have to do it this way, but I figured it might be quite nice to take a walk across Southwark Bridge along the south bank of the River Thames and then back over the Millennium Bridge towards St Paul's Cathedral, see what kind of views I can get. Meanwhile, this is the River Thames. So I've made it to the mighty St Paul's Cathedral. Let's go around and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. The Great Fire destroyed thousands of homes and displaced over 100,000 people. It also destroyed 85 churches, and one of those was St Paul's Cathedral. The church was actually odds on to survive since it was built mostly from stone. But unfortunately at the time it was under restoration and covered in scaffolding, and of course scaffolding brings wooden planks, and the wooden planks caught fire, and the timber roof then caught fire of the cathedral, and unfortunately it was not completely destroyed, but it was burnt so badly that they decided the best course of action would be to knock it down and start again. The new St Paul's Cathedral was designed by Sir Christopher Wren at the end of the 17th century. He's the same guy that designed and saw built the London monument to the Great Fire. The dome is 365 feet tall, that's just over 110 metres, and it is the second largest church or cathedral in the United Kingdom after the cathedral in Liverpool. I'm just walking now towards the London Wall, passing the London Stock Exchange just over there. Back in the financial district, clearly. Just behind me there is St Bartholomew's Church, and I read on a signpost just as I was walking past that the church, I don't believe, made it through the Great Fire of London, but the gatehouse did. And so if I come down here, I'm currently in the graveyard, but if I come down here, you can see that there is a gatehouse to the church just there, and you can see that it is of a medieval design, and that's because somehow it survived the Great Fire of London. So I'm in this little undercover area, and I was wondering what it was. It turns out it is a market that is currently closed, but it is an incredible little cut through, like a little hangar, multicoloured, really cool place. Clocks up there, if you can see them. There we go, there. Right, which way am I going to go? Sport for choice. Keep discovering things that I wasn't expecting to see. Some good old-fashioned London telephone boxes. I don't know if they're still in operation. They look quite genuine in there. Quite new though. Up there is the new city of London, of course. All of the skyscrapers, glass, metal buildings, but down here, mainly in an area called London Wall, which is now a street, there is the remnants of a Roman wall that was built sometime at the end of the 2nd century or the beginning of the 3rd century, and it was maintained by the Romans up until 410, when they left Britain, they left England. But this is the wall as it still stands today. This is most of the wall, of course, has been destroyed over the years. There were at one time lots of bastions as part of the defensive mechanism that served the city of Londinium, but these days all we've got is just these remnants that are kind of scattered around the area where the wall once stood. But it is pretty interesting to see. I honestly didn't know that this wall even existed until a few days ago when I was doing a bit of research on the area, but it's quite cool to see it in amongst all of the new buildings and the new structures here in London City. I've just found here an information board on the London Wall Walk. Seems that there is a proper walk you can do. It gives a little bit of information here. It says that it's 1 3/4 miles long, that's 2.8 kilometers, and you can do it in either direction. And this is a good little illustration on a map of the wall. So this is the city of London right here. The River Thames runs along the bottom there, and this is the line that the London Wall used to follow. So pretty good little, that's plaque number 15. Apparently there are quite a number of them all the way around the walk, telling you lots of different things about it. So it is, and look at this over here. I'm just seeing this as I walk round. I've not been here before. There's a little, what looks like a lake. The Barbican, by the way, is over the back there, and then there are some more fortifications of the London Wall just ahead of me. Just walking down the street away from the London Wall, just a couple of moments just across that busy road behind me, and there is more of it. Look at that. As I said, didn't even know this existed until a few days ago. The new buildings have been built around it, and this acts as like a little viewing platform. Not only am I down by the River Thames, but I'm actually in it. You can see that it is low tide this evening. The water is very low, and it's revealed this kind of beach area behind me with proper sand. The rest of it just stones, bricks, and what looks like the remnants of an old pier over there. Some kind of some kind of wooden structure anyway. River Thames is beautiful this evening. The sun is going to be setting very soon, and I am going to head now to get something to eat and then head back home on the train. So thanks very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Right, this time I really am going to call it a day. I've just been wandering around the streets of the City of London for the last hour or two. The Leadenhall Market that I just showed you on the video was incredible. Just walking through that, I didn't really know that existed, to be honest. The Tower Bridge down by the Thames, lots of buildings lit up now, skyscrapers. I'm back in the actual city, financial district, and as I said, I really am going to call it a night now. There's the gherkin.